Hello everyone, it's Michael from Good Food, Good Fuel, and today we're going to show you some really simple recipes that you can use to make your life healthier. A lot of folks have a lot of calories in their life but don't have a lot of nutrients. So we're going to show you a couple of dishes that are nutrient dense, nutrient rich that you can throw into your diet. One of them is kale. Kale, any kind of dark leafy green, really it's going to be nutrient rich, and you should try to incorporate them into your diet as much as you can. This is a really simple dish, and we'll talk more about it as we go along. The other dish you can use as a snack, as a dessert, as a pie filling. It's very versatile and it's very easy. It's 3 ingredients. So we're going to be talking about those things and show you how to make those. So we're sauteing the onions. You want to saute them in some low sodium vegetable broth. Always want to use low sodium when you can. Try to get as little salt into your diet as possible. Everything is really packed with salt nowadays. A lot of packaged foods you'll find to be 400, 500, 600, 700 milligrams of sodium, which is way too much. So always want to use a low sodium broth. I don't cook with oil. Oil is basically empty calories, and you want to try to get things as, again, nutrient rich as you can. Get your most bang for your buck for your food, so you want them to be nutrient rich. So we're just sauteing the onions. Want them to get to a point where they're nice and translucent, and we'll reach that point in just a minute. Okay, so now we're going to make the creamy portion of the cashew cream kale. We're going to start with a milk alternative. I've chosen to use almond milk, and you could use oat milk, you could use rice milk, you could use soy milk. So we pour that in there with the sauteed onions. We've already taken those out of the pot and added those to the blender. And next we're going to add the cashews, part of what makes it creamy. Another thing that makes it nice and creamy is the nutritional yeast, so we'll add that. Nutritional yeast is really nice. It's got a buttery kind of flavor to it. You can add it to lots of different things, popcorn. I add it to my daughter's cereal in the morning. Great way to get a lot of nutrients, B vitamins, a lot of trace minerals, things like that. Onion powder, we'll add some onion powder to the mix. We'll add just a couple pinches of nutmeg and pepper flakes. And we'll add some miso. There's several different kinds of miso. This is a brown miso. There's also a white miso that you can use. Miso is just basically fermented beans. So add those in there. Blend that up, doesn't take long, just takes a few seconds. So you take that mixture, put it back in the same pot that you just cooked the onions in. Pour that back in there. And you'll notice we're using kind of a tall pot. Usually when you saute things you use a shorter pan, but you'll see in just a minute why we're using such a tall pot. Once we start adding the kale, you'll understand a little bit better why we're doing that. So we'll put that in there. Put that on simmer. And let that heat up again, just to where you can see it boiling, and we'll add the kale back in just a few minutes. Okay, now you can see we've cooked the kale down. Remember, we started with that big, giant bowl of kale, but it does wilt down and cook itself down very nicely. And I like this dish a lot because it stands well by itself, or you can add things to it. One thing I like to do ahead of time is make a big batch of it. Take a mason jar and put it in the mason jar, stick it in the refrigerator with several mason jars full of the kale, and have some throughout the week. And again, it stands well by itself, or you can add things to it. For example, I've sauteed some mushrooms. You can add the mushrooms to that. And I've just sauteed them with some low sodium vegetable broth and some non-salt spice. You can use Mrs. Dash or whatever non-salt spice you like to use. And then also some bok choy. Now bok choy adds a nice color to it as well, but bok choy is another nice dark leafy green, and it's also a very good source of calcium. The top of the bok choy, of course, looks like this. There's the dark leafy green part, and then the bottom part is the white part. The taste is kind of a radishy flavor to it. It's got kind of a radishy quality. Not quite as bitter as the radish, but it's got a nice flavor to it. And it's also, again, another good source of calcium. So we add those things to it, and there you have a nice dish of cream kale. So now the carrots are boiling, been boiling for a few minutes. They're nice and soft. We'll go ahead and add the other 2 ingredients. Again, this is a really simple recipe, 3 ingredients. 4 if you count the water. So we'll add the apricots in there. We'll add the cashews. And we'll stir them up for just a few minutes. and let them get soft as well. It won't take very long, just a few minutes, not even a few minutes, and they'll get nice and soft, and then off to the blender they go. So now the carrots, the cashews, and the apricots have all softened up. We've put them into the blender, and we'll put the lid on, and we'll add a little bit of the water that was in the pot, just a little bit, to add a little bit of liquid to it. About 2 cups worth will do it. Put the lid on there. Okay, so it's nice and blended. Now you can do this any way you want to. If you want it nice and smooth, blend it a lot longer if you'd like. If you want it a little bit chunky, some of the nuts still in little bitty pieces, don't blend it quite as long. Whatever you'd like to do, it's your thing. My mom always said, or my mom never said, don't play with your food. So I always play with my food, create different things, have fun with it. That's what I always tell people, get in the kitchen, have fun with it. So this is our cashew apricot carrot spread. And again, you can use this in lots of different ways. I'm going to choose to use it as a fruit spread. You could use it as any kind of dessert. You could put it in a pie crust and make a pie out of it. So a lot of different things you could do with that. So we'll plate that up. Put that in the bowl there. And as you can see, we've got some apples ready to go. And we'll put that back on there. So you just slice up some apples. Put them on the plate, and you've got a nice carrot cashew spread. Use it as a fruit spread. It's very nutritious. Carrots, cashews, and apricots. Well, that wraps it up. I hope you've enjoyed these tasty and also nutritious dishes that we had for you today. This is Michael with Goodfoodgoodfuel.com and Simply C360. You'll be seeing more of me, but in the meantime, go ahead and spread the health around.